What is up, people? What is going on? Welcome to Big B Daily Show. This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome to the show. Live on TikTok, live on YouTube. What is going on, people? What is going on, man? Still getting a lot of news, NFL news. I know people think that in between these games, it's a downtime, but there's still a lot going on, man. We're going to get to it. Harbaugh going to the Chargers. What does Michigan do? The NBA midseason grades, and the Milwaukee GM and Giannis, they both just lied. Just flat out lied about why they got rid of Adrian Griffin. It's just craziness. We're going to get to all of that today, man. So I appreciate it. TikTok, keep tapping the screen. Just as always, 3,500 likes and at least 30 new follows. So we appreciate that. We want as many people in here as possible. Come subscribe over on YouTube, man. Let's get the show going. Let's go. So, first off, Jim Harbaugh going to the Chargers. I think this is one of the worst kept secrets. I don't know. I think people have been thinking that Jim Harbaugh has been going to the Chargers for months now. Even before that horrible coach, Brandon Staley, got fired, I think people thought that Jim Harbaugh was done with the NCAA and was just going to the Chargers. He was going to the NFL, and the Chargers was the more logical place for him to go. So I think that was it. And personally, I think it's a great move. It's a great move. He's got his quarterback already in place. So he got his quarterback already in place. They need to fix the defense. Everybody always talks about how much talent the defense has. And my whole thing with the Chargers defense, and y'all tell me if y'all agree, I don't think they're as talented as what people keep saying that they are, because they keep getting torched. I mean, we that's all everybody says is how much talent that defense has on it. And yet, here we are, and they always get smacked around. So I think they got to fix the defense, man. They definitely got to fix the defense. Khalil Mack had a great year this year. Joey Bosa always hurt. That's a problem. He's got a bunch of money he's getting paid. Khalil Mack, I'm not even sure he's going to be coming back. They've got a lot of cap issues that they're going to have to deal with. They got to keep Keenan Allen. Now, they got to keep him at a premium because Keenan Allen gets hurt, but they got to start there. I just think they got to retool the defense. They got to start in the draft. They got to get younger. They got to get tough up the middle. That's the one thing. They got to get tough up the middle on that Chargers defense. But I think that's something that Harbaugh does. I mean, he did it with San Francisco. I think he's going to do it again with the Chargers. Just build from the inside out. That's how you build a football team, especially if you already got your quarterback in place. When you got your quarterback in place, that changes everything, man. Everything. So, but if they can build from the inside out, get you some D tackles, get you some linebackers. Look, I think Derwin James is great, but you get Derwin James in some coverage, it's a problem. It's a problem. As much as we love Derwin James, we've seen him out there. You get him covering guys, he gets cooked. Let's just be honest. So I just think they got to change from the inside out. I think Harbaugh can be the guy to do that. He can be the guy to make the changes necessary for the Chargers to get better. He can be the guy to make the changes necessary for the Chargers to get better. Got to build, just got to retool. Just got to retool everything, man. So just got to retool. Somebody on TikTok, San Francisco was really good with Harbaugh. Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. They got to keep pushing, keep getting the offensive line better. They got to continue to just build the team. You know, you got the quarterback. You got to build the team around him. You got to protect him. You got to give him weapons. You got to build the defense. They got a lot to do in San Diego. Los Angeles. They got a lot to do with the Chargers. They got a lot. Hopefully ownership, who has been bad, let's be honest, hopefully ownership will stay out of the way and allow them to do the things that they want to do. I think it's smart. They have their coach, And Harbaugh is going to take a lot of ownership in personnel matters. So he's going to bring in a guy that he can work with as far as general manager. Usually you want to do it the other way around. But in Harbaugh's case, he's such a big personality and has proven to be successful. I think they're allowing him to help bring in a general manager that he can get along with. So we'll see. We will see. One question that comes to mind is, how does Michigan respond? Or how does Harbaugh, what drove him to leave? And first of all, a bunch of money. That would be number one. Number two, I think that he accomplished what he set out to accomplish at Michigan, was get Michigan back to where he and a lot of people thought Michigan should be. He did that. It took him a little bit longer, but he did it and did it successfully. So, and one thing, a question over here on YouTube, Patrick Cockrell. Hey, Patrick, thanks for coming back to the show, man. He says, I think he knew some kind of NCAA sanctions are coming down from the sign stealing scandal, so he got up out of there. Pete Carroll 2.0. I don't think it's near as bad because Pete Carroll they were egregiously paying people. Sign stealing ain't that big of a deal. And if the NCAA tries to make sign stealing that everybody does, if they try to make this a big deal, then I think the schools should just form their own association and get out of the NCAA. You're trying to make sign stealing some big deal, then you're full of it. We already know the NCAA is full of it. But if they're going to try to go down that road, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But I do think Harbaugh was done dealing with NCAA nonsense. I think he was just done with it. Like, you guys, I'm tired of messing around. I'm over it. I'm done. So I think that is a great point. I think it's a great, great point. But yeah, I think this is a great move for Harbaugh. I think it's a great move for Jim Harbaugh. For him, I think it's a good move. I think it's a great move for the Chargers. I think they get a coach in there that's going to have some credibility. That's another thing. I'm not sure the Chargers were all the way bought in on Staley. I'm not sure that he had the pulse of the locker room, that the guys respected him. I don't think that was necessarily the case, especially with some of them analytical nerd moves that he kept making that kept losing them football games. I think the locker room was just like, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing? So I think I think it's a great move all the way around. And they're going to respect Harbaugh because he's already done it at their level. And he knows football. And he knows they're going to put them in the best possible position to succeed. And that's all you can ask as a player. Put me in the best possible position to succeed, week in and week out. I think they're going to do that. I think that Harbaugh is going to demand a lot. I think they're going to get better quickly. I think they're going to be in the mix next year. I do. I think now, depending on how free agency and what they do with salaries and all that, I believe that they're going to be in the mix next year. Doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl. That's not what I'm saying. They're definitely going to be better than what they were this year. I mean, they quit on the season. They're not going to be quitting on Harbaugh. You quit on Harbaugh, he'll just cut you. So I think they're going to be in the mix next year. They're going to run the ball a lot more next year. They're going to get them a hammer of a running back. Eckler was not the guy. He wasn't that guy. Fantasy football merchant, yeah, he wasn't the guy. They're going to go get them a running back and have a solid running game. They'll probably have two running backs. So not Blake Corum. Blake Corum's not an NFL running back. He's a college running back. He's not an NFL running back. He's not that guy. I think he can play in the NFL. Don't get me wrong, but he's not going to be the guy that you're going to depend on for 25 carries a game in the National Football League. I would love for him to prove me wrong. But he's not explosive enough. He's not big enough, but we'll see. They probably said the same thing as that he couldn't do the same thing in college, and he proved he could. The difference was he was running behind a bunch of men on that Michigan offensive line, and it's a little different, when you got men against boys on an offense versus defensive line than it is in the NFL. Well, everybody's a man. So we'll see. We'll see. Moving on. I guess not really moving on. I guess the next question is, what does Michigan do? Sharon Brown, and I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I've heard it a couple different ways. We'll go with Sharon on the Big B Daily Show. I think he's got to get the job at Michigan. I mean, what did he coach? 6 games this year? He coached 6 games. They won them all. Looked good. The team seems to absolutely love the guy. I think he's got to get the job there. Yeah, I think Sharon Moore's got to get the job there. Done a good job. Coached, 5 or 6 games. The team loves him. They play hard. So, Lane Kiffin doesn't know. Lane Kiffin? What? Lane Kiffin is not a Michigan football coach. Lane Kiffin is not a Michigan football coach. Urban Meyer is not a Michigan. They would never hire Urban Meyer, number one. Urban Meyer could offer to coach there for free, and Michigan's not hiring him. I love that. I love the pettiness, though, of an Urban Meyer hire. Wouldn't y'all love the pettiness of an Urban Meyer hire? Now, that would be funny. That would be funny. That would absolutely be funny. So, but we'll see. I'm sure they're going to name him today. And if they do, I'm not sure. That 30-day window of guys jumping into the portal, I don't know how many Michigan guys would do that. First of all, it's a little late in the game. But I don't know how many Michigan kids would just say, we're jumping in the portal now that Harbaugh's gone. You might have a few. Matter of fact, I'm positive you'll have a few. But it's not going to be like the kids from Alabama that just jumped ship. I don't think it's going to be like that at all. So I don't think it's going to be like that at all. That job is big for him. If he starts losing, why is the job too big for the guy? The guy was coaching a national championship caliber team this year and did it well. I mean, he did it on game days. He was calling his own play. I don't understand why the job is too big for him. That doesn't make sense. Maybe you don't want him to have the job, and you should just say that. Don't come up with excuses on why he can't have it or why he shouldn't have it. So, it's crazy. It's crazy. Harbaugh fleeing the investigation. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. So, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Let's move on. Let's talk a little NBA real quick. Little NBA basketball. NBA basketball, as far as the midway point, the Celtics are the top team in the league. We thought that Milwaukee was right there. And here's the thing. I usually don't wish bad juju on teams. I want Milwaukee to fall apart. I want the Milwaukee Bucks to absolutely fall apart. I do not like what they did to Adrian Griffin. I don't like it. And but I want them to fall apart. We'll get into a little bit more of that later. Out west, I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think they're going to end up being playoff frauds. I know somebody yesterday was saying, yeah, but they gave Denver all they wanted. And that's true. That's true. In the playoffs, they won a game, but you got to win 4 games. I don't think Minnesota's going to be frauds. I do. Now, they're playing well, but I'm not a believer. They're going to have to make me a believer, which is okay. So, if they can make me a believer, I'll be down with it. But they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to do that. Our trusted Lakers are frauds. The Lakers are going to make a huge trade here. LeBron don't like the roster. Nobody likes the roster. They're going to end up making a trade. So we'll find out. We'll absolutely find out what's going on there. I don't know. The East seems like it might be getting close to as good as the West. This is about as evenly stacked a Eastern Conference and a Western Conference that we've seen in a while. You know, for years, the West had been so much better. I don't know if that's the case anymore. Yeah, Daniel Reyes brings up a good point. The Clippers. The Clippers is a B. I don't know if the Clippers are a B. I think it's closer to an A minus. The Clippers are pretty good. They have kind of figured out some stuff. And the West isn't miles better. You're not watching enough. So if you say the East is so weak, you're not watching enough. But yeah, it's getting closer. The West is still better, but it's not miles better. It's just better. The gap has been closed. So let's see here. Somebody's asking who's strong in the East. Well, the best team in the league is the Celtics. They're about as East as it gets. But hey, I guess if you're the best in the league, that's not strong. But we'll just move on. Somebody that doesn't like the Celtics doesn't think that the Celtics are any good, so we'll let them live with that. And their basketball take. We got it. But yeah, as far as the grades, I think the Clippers got a chance. Denver, obviously. And Denver's just mulling around. They've been mulling around, and then the next thing you know, they're right there tied for tops in the league. They've just been mulling around, hanging around. And Denver, I think by the end of the year, I still think Denver's going to have the number 1 seed in the East. So, all going to be the number 1 seed in the East. So, we'll see what happens. As far as that is concerned, I like the Clippers. The Warriors, I think the Warriors are going to have problems making the playoffs. I think they're going to have problems making the playoffs. The team that people need to be concerned with are the Thunder. The Thunder, although no playoff experience, I think the Thunder are going to, or not enough anyway, I think the Thunder are going to give some people some problems. Sometimes playoff experience can be a little overrated when you're super talented, and the Thunder are super talented. So we'll see. The thing that I think is going to hold back the Suns, they don't have a point guard. And I think you got to have a point guard. So I like what they're doing. I like that 3-headed monster. I don't think they're going to have enough defense. And I don't think when you don't have a real point guard to kind of settle things down or distribute the ball, I don't think it's going to be sustainable to have Booker and Bradley Beal trying to distribute the basketball to people. Those guys are scorers. And maybe they make a move to get a low-grade point guard or something like that can step in. Not Dallas. Dallas doesn't play. They don't play enough defense. Dallas doesn't play enough defense. If they're making a bunch of shots, they can stay in games. They can win games. But their problem in the playoffs, they just don't guard it. They don't guard anybody. They literally don't guard anybody. So they just don't. So and to me, you got to be able to play some defense. I think that's the problem that they saw in Milwaukee. But the problem in Milwaukee is they blame the coach for not being able to play defense when it's the players that aren't playing any defense. They're out there blaming the coach. Well, hell, what do you expect? You got rid of a top 5 on-ball defender and brought in a guy that plays no defense whatsoever. And as much as we love Dame, Dame doesn't guard it. Dame couldn't guard anybody in this chat. Nobody. He doesn't guard anybody. So he doesn't guard anybody in this chat. And that's a problem. So things aren't going to be as good. Things are just not going to be as good. But they still managed to have a 30-13 record, somehow not guarding people. And their defense is bad. It's bad. But it wasn't just him. I mean, if you look at Giannis, Giannis has been a defensive player of the year. He ain't playing great defense either. And then they blame the coach. I thought it was Bush League. But we'll see. So And yeah, Dame is still a top 3 shooter, but we're not talking about shooting. We're talking about defense. Dame doesn't guard anybody. Dame doesn't guard anybody. So, a man saying that the Clippers will win the chip this year. They might. The Clippers seem to have gotten it figured out. The Clippers have seemed to have gotten some things figured out. We'll see how it works down the stretch. If those guys can just stay healthy, if Kawhi and Paul George, if they can just stay healthy, let's see what they can do. Let's see what they can do. I want to see it. But man, it'll be interesting. So, my man Blade Watchers over on YouTube says he can't wait for the Intuit Dome to open in Inglewood for the Clippers. The place looks crazy. I love it. And I think it's about time the Clippers got their own place. Stop being second-class citizens. They're still going to be second-class citizens to the Lakers. I don't care what. But at least they got their own home. You know what I'm saying? At least they don't have to share a home. So at least they don't have to share a home. So good for them, man. Good for them. So, yeah, basement dwellers no more. Basement dwellers no more. Get off the couch. Finally getting off their big brother's couch. You know, good for them, man. Good for them. And Daniel Reyna said, who's a better defender, Harden or Dame? I mean, I'll say Harden just because Harden is stronger than Dame, but neither one of them play any defense. Neither one of them do. But Harden doesn't have to because he's got guys that can. George, Kawhi, those guys can guard people. So he doesn't have to guard anybody. You know, he can be out there getting away, maybe stick his hand in a passing lane every now and then. So I don't even know if Harden pretends to play defense, but that's a good analogy. That's a good analogy. I don't even know if he pretends to do it. But you're right. If I stick my hand out like I'm in a passing lane every now and then, people think, oh, Harden's out there guarding. His guy's getting a back cut and a dunk, but he got out in the passing lane. Come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? So we'll see. I like where the Clippers are at, though. I like where the Clippers are at. I'm not a believer over in the East. I'm not a believer in like the Knicks. You talk about people that don't guard anybody, and that's crazy because Thibodeau, that's his thing. Defense. But Randall, Brunson, when your stars can't guard, it's a problem. And when your stars can't guard, it's a problem. So that's my thing. That is my thing. You know, and I know they brought in OG over there, and he's absolutely helping and is going to continue to help. But we'll see how that goes, man. Let's move on. Now, I mentioned earlier, and I want everybody's opinion. I want everybody to chime in and tell me what we'll do. We'll get to football stuff here in just a second, man. So, but tell me, and if you're talking about NFL scripts, you are going to be thrown right out of here. That much I can assure you. That much I can assure you. I'm not dealing with any foolishness. But let me know what you all think about the Milwaukee GM. And Giannis, for that matter. I think they both lied. I mean, the general manager says that he came out and basically said it was a sense of urgency to win a championship. Hold on. You're 30-13. What are you talking about, a sense of urgency? I mean, you're 30-13. You played 43 games. So basically half the season, you won 30 of those games. And what? That's not a sense of urgency? I don't get it. What do we need? What else are you wanting for him to do? So here's a good question by my man Austin. What's going on, Austin? Welcome back to the live stream, man. Welcome back to the show. Why does Doc Rivers seem to ruin everything he touches in the past 10 years? Because Doc Rivers is not a good basketball coach. That's why. Doc Rivers is a horrible basketball coach that nobody wants to just come out and say. I don't know why they won't. He's living off a championship that he won almost 20 years ago with 3 Hall of Famers and a borderline 4th, and they act like he did such a great coaching job. He hasn't done anything even remotely close to that, and they only won once. They only won once. It's not like they won 4 titles in Boston. They won once. But they just lied in Milwaukee. They just flat out lied. How they did Adrian Griffin, they should be ashamed of themselves. And even the bigger lie is Giannis. I'm ashamed of Giannis, man. I'm ashamed of Giannis. Giannis came. I didn't know. I was surprised. But you notice he said I didn't know. I was surprised, but he didn't defend Adrian Griffin. Did any of y'all notice that? I'm shocked. Oh, I had no idea. I had no clue that they were doing this. Okay. And that's basically what he said. I mean, that's pathetic. That's pathetic. I have no respect. Now, again, if that's what you wanted to do, fine. If you didn't get along with the head coach, fine. If it wasn't working, we don't know the inner workings of the locker room, fine. But don't lie to me and tell me you were shocked and surprised. No, you weren't. You had your hands all in this thing. Telling me you're shocked, surprised. I had no idea that this was going to happen. Hey, come on, man. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? So, and there it is right there, Jacob Perkins. Exactly. Like Giannis isn't the one calling the shots. Exactly. My whole thing is, why do we believe that Doc Rivers is the answer? And why didn't you give Adrian Griffin, okay, it's not working. This is what we need to do. This is how I see it needs to get fixed. Okay? Let's see if we can't fix this thing. It's clearly not broken because we're 30-13. So it's not broken. But we got to fix it. How you didn't even give the man an opportunity to fix it. Because I'll tell you right now, 43 games in an 82-game season ain't enough time to fix something. And maybe you didn't like his defensive rotations. Maybe you didn't like his defensive strategy. Okay. Hey, coach, this isn't going to work. We got to change some stuff. Well, how do you know, man? Give it a chance. Give him a chance. So here's a question by my man Patrick Cockrell again. Here's a question. In the NBA, does coaching actually matter all that much in today's game, or is it more on the players? Coaching matters. Coaching matters. When we're talking about defensive rotations and offensive sets, coaching matters. Now, does it matter as much as player execution? No, but that you can say that about every single sport at every single level. It doesn't matter as much, but yeah, you got to have coaching. You got to have a game plan. Because you can get out coached, you can get out schemed. I mean, other than a team just getting red hot, making a bunch of shots, that's different. So, do the Wizards go for Griffin now? And yeah, I don't think Griffin. First of all, he interviewed 14 times for a head coaching job, and then they finally got one. Not to mention, Giannis wanted him to be the coach. Giannis wanted him to be the coach. And you're telling me after 43 games that, nope, not going to work. I want him out. GM just lied to us. Giannis just lied to us. They both should be ashamed of themselves. And not to mention, let me take that back. I think the GM is just following Giannis's orders. I think the GM is following what Giannis wanted done. But to bring in Doc Rivers, I just don't understand that. I just don't understand why you would bring in Doc Rivers. What I mean, how many? And I said the same thing about NFL coaches. And I'm going to say the same thing about NBA coaches. All the retreads in the NBA is ridiculous. Why would you bring in a coach that has been fired from the last 2 jobs for underachieving? What makes you think he's the guy? What makes you think that guy is the guy to get you over the hump, even though he's been on teams that were star-studded and underachieved, and that's why he got fired. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Where's the new blood? Where's the new way of thinking or a different way of thinking? I mean, and yeah, Milwaukee will get better defensively because Doc is a pretty good defensive coach. They'll get better, but you don't know that they weren't going to get better with Adrian Griffin either. And you didn't even give him the opportunity. But here's my thing. How do you have Doc Rivers, who's supposedly giving advice to Adrian Griffin all this time? He's supposedly giving him advice. A month later, that guy that's giving advice all of a sudden is the coach. I mean, gee, many Christmas. I mean, it just, man, you talk about sabotage at its highest level. I don't think it gets worse than that. I don't think it gets worse than that. I'm giving you advice. A month later, I got your job. Whew. Man. Sometimes one man can change a time. I don't understand what that means. Sometimes one man can change a time. Huh. That's an interesting take. But I get sometimes a man can change things, but Doc Rivers has had his opportunity. How many opportunities are we going to give Doc Rivers? How many times? And I know what some people are going to say. How are you as a black man talking bad about a black man? Man, I don't want to hear that. Doc Rivers is a bad basketball coach. Let me take that back. He's not bad. He's average at best. Average at best. And y'all know me. I just call it like it is. I don't care if you're blue, black, green, yellow, white, red, purple. Either you're good or you're bad. Doc Rivers, I can say it. Doc Rivers is bad. Shit. Doc Rivers is bad. Here's somebody on TikTok in all caps. Doc Rivers is horrible. Yes. Yes. Hell, I'm not afraid to say it. Doc Rivers is horrible. And how he got this job is ridiculous. How you think that's the guy is ridiculous. And I'll be honest, I don't usually. So we had a little technical difficulties over on YouTube, but we got it fixed. We got it fixed. I'm sure it was my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi is nutso sometimes, but what are you going to do, people? What are you going to do? Besides Jokic, the guy just plays and has no drama. Oh, you're talking about Jokic. Yeah, Jokic is a guy. Jokic is a player. But let me ask y'all this. the way Embiid is playing, do you like Embiid as good? I personally like Embiid better. I like Embiid better. Now, Jokic does things that no big man has ever done before. He can literally, and technically, he's the point guard for the Nuggets. He is the point guard of the Nuggets. You run your offense. You can, and they do. They run their offense through Jokic. So, but I think it's more of a preference. I think it's just more of a preference, which is okay to have. I prefer Embiid over Jokic, but it's close. It's real close. So, good question over Tim. What do you think about the Dolphins' defensive coaching fire? I think the Dolphins are insane for getting rid of Vic Fangio. I think the Dolphins are absolutely insane for getting rid of Fangio. They're going to find out that it wasn't him that was the problem. I mean, it wasn't his fault that all of their defensive ends went out with season-ending injuries. It wasn't his fault. That happened. It wasn't his fault that Xavier Howard can't stay healthy. That wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault that Jalen Ramsey was hurt for 2/3 of the season to begin the season. That wasn't his fault. And not only that, their defense got better. Their defense got better. So I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. But I do know this. The talks are him going to Philadelphia. Philadelphia's defense, if he ends up landing there, Philadelphia's defense just got better just by him being there, regardless of any of the changes that he makes. So, regardless of any of the changes that he makes, Philly, they got something. Problem in the front office. You talking about the problem in the front office in Miami? I don't know. Do I like Chicago's new OC? Have they announced one yet? I thought they were just going after guys. Have they announced one yet in Chicago? So you think keeping Sirianni was the right choice? No. I know it's tough. Guy went to a Super Bowl. Guy won 11 games, made the playoffs. Sirianni lost the locker room last year. Period, point blank. But I think what Philly is thinking, hey, change your coordinators, number one, or you're out. But number two, change your coordinators. We're going to give you another year to get this figured out. As we know, Philly will pull the trigger on a Super Bowl winning coach quickly. I mean, they got rid of Doug Peterson 2 years after he won a Super Bowl. He was out. Now, that's different. Doug Peterson stopped coaching. But Philly, they're not going to stand for that. They're like, hey, man, you don't want to win. You don't want to coach. You don't want to do things the way that they need to be done. You'll be out of here. That. I applaud that. So we'll see what happens. But I think Fangio, I think that's a huge, if Philly can land him, that's a huge upgrade. I have no idea what Miami's doing. No idea at all. And maybe he wanted out, but I don't think he did. So my man Austin over on YouTube said, I'm pleasantly surprised in the Steelers OC interview so far. Me too, man. Me too. I am surprised. I think it's outstanding what they're doing, going outside the people that they're interviewing. Now they got to hire somebody. So, just as a reminder, y'all, Big B Daily Show, we moved our time up to 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 on the East Coast. I appreciate everybody joining, man. Do me a favor and just tell a friend. Tell a friend. Tell them to come join the show. You know, whether you join and you subscribe to Big B Sports Talk on YouTube or you join on TikTok, tell somebody to come in. We've been growing here over the last 60 days. We have grown a ton, and it's all because of you, the Goon Squad. The Goon Squad has done it. So I appreciate all of that, man. I appreciate it. Again, if you're on TikTok and you're not following, give us a follow. We appreciate it. Click on the YouTube link in my bio and come join the show over on YouTube, or at least come subscribe to Big B Sports Talk over there, man. A lot of stuff that you'll get to see over there. Getting back to it, the Commanders, yeah, I think somebody asked about Ben Johnson. I think that's the hire. That's why they haven't named a guy. I think that's the hire there. I like it. I like it. So I don't think the Steelers have a front runner for the OC job. I think they're interviewing guys, a lot of different people. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the passing game coordinator for the Rams. I like that choice. I like that choice. So I appreciate it, Dakota. Thank you for saying that. And it looks like Bill Belichick, may not get the job in Atlanta. I mean, how many interviews do you need before you hire Bill Belichick? I mean, you had one interview. I would think that would be enough. Then they interviewed him again, and apparently, we'll move on. We'll keep looking. What does that mean? What's that say? So I don't know. But yeah, it seems like Bill Belichick may be out. And I said this before, and a lot of you guys agreed with me. There were some that disagreed. It's like, do you want to bring in Bill Belichick because you know he's not going to coach more than 2 or 3 years? Or do you even want him 2 or 3 years? Bill Belichick is going to want total control. He's going to want total control. What's it look like the last 3 years with Belichick? Basically, the last 5 years with Belichick in total control. What's that look like? It hasn't looked good. It hasn't looked good. So I just don't know why you would do that. And I think he wants that. And I think Atlanta's pushing back, saying, no, you have a bad track record the last 5 years of putting together football teams. We're not going to let you do that. You'll have some input, but you're not in charge. And I think he wants to, if he goes to Atlanta, I want to be in charge. Finally, Arthur Blank is making some good decisions. Finally. They're pushing back on that. Finally. So go with, I don't even know if you go with a Vrabel, but maybe you go with a Vrabel. So Chuck Miller says Belichick should just retire. He's not going to retire. He wants that record. He wants that record. Ego is a big part of coaching. He wants that record. I don't blame him. It's just, where's the opportunity? How much are you going to be willing to give up to get the record? I think he could have the Atlanta job if he just says, okay, somebody else is part of player development. Somebody else is in charge of the roster. So, no, they haven't announced Defensive Player of the Year yet. They announced that the night before the Super Bowl. So, Mike DeRuler, Big B, how do I think Herbert will do with Harbaugh? I think Herbert's going to be fine because the emphasis is going to be a lot more on running the football than it is now in Los Angeles with the Chargers. The emphasis, they're going to put a lot more emphasis on running the football and not have Herbert be the savior. They're not going to have Herbert be, okay, everything is on you if we're going to win. Harbaugh doesn't do that. That's not what he did at Michigan. That's not what he did at San Francisco. That's not what he did at Stanford. It wasn't, okay, everything is on you as the quarterback. We're going to run the football to help you. And I think that makes a huge difference. So Harbaugh's going to cheat in the NFL too? Yeah, he's going to cheat just like they all do. So you're exactly right. Yeah, Harbaugh coached at Stanford. Before he went to San Francisco, he was at Stanford. And Stanford was really good when he was there. Now they had Andrew Luck, so that changes things. But they were good. So, yeah, and you're right. Harbaugh's way got him to a Super Bowl. And they were a bad call away from winning the Super Bowl. They were a non-pass interference call that was clearly pass interference from winning that Super Bowl against the Ravens. So, but we'll see. I like it. I like the way. I just like the hire all the way around. I like the hire all the way around. Wakan says he would like to see the Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald in Atlanta. I don't disagree there either. There's a couple of coaching spots that are open. I'm going to be interested to see who takes the Carolina job. Who wants that dumpster fire? Who wants to go work for that guy? Now, somebody will. Somebody's going to take it because, again, it's one of 32 jobs that are very coveted positions. But who wants to go take the job in Carolina? You know, Ben Johnson already turned it down. He turned it down last year. So he ain't going. He ain't going. No, it ain't going to be me. Mark Hacker, no, sirree, Bob. And if I do take the job in Carolina, I have to have a 6-year contract, just like Matt Rule. I need a 6-year contract. You're going to pay me. If you're going to get in the way and make rash decisions and all that kind of stuff, then you're going to pay me to do it. If you're not, I ain't taking the job. He said Jimbo Fisher. If Jimbo Fisher shows his face anywhere but an analyst job for television, he's insane. He's insane. You got $76 million not to coach. Just walk away. Just walk away. It's not that you haven't won a national title. You have. It's not that you hadn't been successful at previous jobs. You had. You're only Jimbo Fisher, he looks 80, doesn't he? And you look at Jimbo Fisher, he looks like he's 80 years old. He's only 58. He's 10 years older than me. But he looks 80. He just got to be out. Just got to be done. Do the Ed Orgeron. Get on the Ed Orgeron plan. Ed Orgeron was so happy to be fired by LSU. Ed Orgeron just said, okay, I'm fired. Great. Here's the address to send my check to. I don't want, payments. I don't want installments. I just want a lump sum. I'm getting a divorce from my wife. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to be sitting up there with a different 25-year-old every other week. That's what Ed Orgeron did. And somebody, yeah, you're right, Dakota. Ed needs to come back to college football. Anybody with that kind of voice needs to be somewhere in football. I would love him to be on TV just so I can hear. I don't even care what he says. I just want to hear his voice. I don't even care what he says. Don't care. I just want to hear him talk. I love it. I love it. He got a raw deal. He stopped coaching basically at LSU. He stopped coaching. He was making a bunch of money. They won a national title. He was done, and they fired him. But good for him. He parlayed that into a big contract. Then they let him go. Good for him, man. Good for him. We're going to shut this one down for today, people. I appreciate everybody. Thank you guys for joining the show. Again, man, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. That's our new time. I appreciate everybody being here. Again, we'll have one show tomorrow. It'll be all NFL. Unless some crazy stuff goes on, it more than likely it's going to be all NFL, man. We're going to break down all of these games. Be ready tomorrow to have a ton of questions, a ton of interaction, because we're going to break all of this down. We're going to break all of it down, these two games. I appreciate y'all being here, man. You all have a great, great Thursday, and I will see you tomorrow. We'll holler at you, and aloha.